Nevermore.
You are my tuberculosis patient dying in the corner. Hello and welcome, I'm Kayla Scrivener, and today I am going to be doing the end of the year tag. Somehow, it's almost 2020. My goodness.
It's 2021.
It's almost 2020. I want to redo.
It's 2020.
Hello and welcome, I'm Kayla Scrivener, and today I'm going to be doing the end of the year tag. This is a tag that is about the end of the year, and somehow it's almost 2021, which probably a good thing. And we are going to be talking about the books that I'm doing to transition and end the year, because I didn't even do like a mid-year stuff and now the year is over. So let's talk about some things. Are there any books that you need to finish before the end of the year? Yes. I have 12 from this year and 7 from previous years, but when I wrote the questions down, I had 18. So from this year alone. So I've done a really good job in October kind of finishing stuff up. I finally got like my real reading zeal back, which was so good to just be like, I read no books in the beginning of October and then 12 in like 13 and 12 days, which is nice, or 14 and 13 days actually, yeah, because I added another one. Anyways, and then the second question is, do you have any books to transition like autonomously? And before I was always like, no, I don't, like I only read like books whenever, but I became a huge mood reader and I started reading horror this year, which was cool and kind of terrifying. I did not sleep last night until my roommate had to come in because I was like, human contact. But I feel like my most transition was like I started Dracula in early September and it was wonderful, and I got really distracted even though it was so great. So I think my true one was probably The Lottery. The Lottery and Other Stories by Shirley Jackson is an incredible collection of short stories published in 1949. And you were probably famous with The Lottery and maybe The Intoxicant or Charles. Those are the ones I think I read in high school. But it is spooky. The Demon Lover was probably my favorite, and The Tooth still haunts my like brain. It has such an interesting, because it's like sinister in the ordinary. Like most of them have no actual horror aspects to them, but there's this eeriness, there's this sinisterness to normal life, and she's kind of arguing in some ways that like polite society and civilization isn't as innocent as we might think. Even behind everyday interactions, there's this element of horror, and in my mind, it's extraordinary. Definitely going to top my list of favorite books this year. Question number 3 is there still a book that you are waiting and thinking that it's going to be great and the release hasn't come yet? And for me, this is A Sky Above the Storm, which is the 4th book in the Ember and the Ashes series. And this is the 2nd one. I don't even know how to describe this book. I didn't think I would love it. And then like I became consumed and it was wonderful and it changes so much. But kind of in the beginning, we have this Roman-esque, Empire-esque thing versus like South Asian mythology, and it is incredible. We have Elias, who is like kind of a soldier guard thing in the training camp, and he is a mask, and that's what they call them because they have masks that cover their faces and congeal to their face, which is terrifying. It's like the Stanford prison thing where their identity is lost and they just become more brutal and stuff, and it is wonderful and excellent and all of those things. And then we have Laya, who is, her parents were part of the resistance and they were killed, and now her brother has gone missing, and she decides to go in one of these head government officials as a slave and try to be a spy. And yeah, their paths interact and it is wonderful and thrilling and all of those things, and then it just moves on to be bigger and greater than that. And then we have, what books do you want to read before the end of the year? I want to read a lot of books, but the 3 that they said to pick 3. So I have My Dark Vanessa, which is a novel I've talked about from the beginning of the year, but I still haven't read, so I want to read it by the end of the year. And this is, in summary, about this girl who has an affair with her high school teacher, and then it takes place 17 years later around the time of Me Too, and talks about the fact that she now realizes and is starting to realize that what she had looked at was her first great love is actually abuse and gaslighting and grooming and all of these. So I've heard it's a very difficult read, which is why I probably put it off because 2020 has been a lot. But I'm excited to read this and to review it as someone who has a counseling background and works with a lot of people who have gone through trauma, especially sexual trauma. I'm excited to read this, and you know, I know a lot psychologically, but I think there's a power in reading something from a firsthand point of view and knowing it. And it's a good book and an important book because these are weirdly often eroticized and romanticized in especially teen literature, and it's scary. So I'm glad to have this book. And then we have Another Brooklyn, and I read 2 Jaclyn Woodson books so far, and they are wonderful. Like, tear-wrenching, heartwarming, just empowering. Her language is incredible. So she has so many books. I'm like, I want to read a book once a month. But this book, I'm not sure if it's fictional, because I thought that Brown Girl Dreaming was fictional, but it was actually a biography. And this is a book that's set in the 70s and kind of the darker side of Brooklyn and what I believe it is to be a Black girl in the 1970s and be a teenager and coming of age and all of those things, and friendship and womanhood and all of those things. And I'm so excited. And then we have Pet Sematary, which I'm terrified for. I have read, and yeah, I read The Institute earlier this year, which was my first proper King horror book. And now I'm jumping into Pet Sematary, which I've heard is not very horror-esque. It's more like spooky and like heart-wrenching and eerie and all of those things, but I know that it deals a lot with grief. I don't know anything else. I want to be surprised. I want to be scared. I probably won't sleep. I didn't sleep last night at the end of Haunting of Hill House, even though I read it before and wasn't that scared. Knowing like all of Shirley Jackson's stuff, I was scared. Still a book that might surprise you and become your favorite of the year. And I always want to leave this opening, but I do think that there's 2 books among many others that have probably one of the highest chance. The first is The Toll. Scythe is one of my favorite series of all time, and I adore it. And I reread the books in anticipation of The Toll coming out last November, and I didn't read it. I got out of the library, read the first bit, and then had to put it back because of holds. And then COVID hit and the library closed, and I just like fell out of being able to like really focus on fantasy and just kind of went more into the gritty and the normal, I guess. But my roommate got it, and I'm feeling much more the zeal of reading, so I want to pick this up and finish it. And I'm scared because I heard mixed things, but it's one of my favorite series, so I'm really hoping I will adore it and not put it off. And then I have Clap When You Land, and this book was excellent. I was reading it and the words are powerful. I love Elizabeth Acevedo's writing. With Fire on High is definitely one of my favorite books. Poet X is not one of my favorites, but it's wonderfully written. And this is about 2 sisters who share a father, but they don't know they share a father, and their father dies on a plane crash. And one lives in Dominican Republic and one lives in New York, and it's their lives, and it's written in verse, and it's wonderful and emotional and deals with really hard things. And I read about the first 150 pages, and then I reread it to my roommate, and it was just wonderful. And then one of my friends died in July, and I just was like, I can't read a book about grief. So I put it off for the last like 4 or 5 months, and then I feel like I can pick it up and finish it now, and I'm really excited to finish the book because it was definitely going to be up there with my favorites of the year. And then the last one is, have you already started making plans for 2021? And the answer is kind of in my mind. I keep on like grabbing pens / documents to make plans, and I'm like, here, no, the end of the year has not happened. You don't need to make plans yet. Your plans will probably change by January because of mood. So I always make plans and then like they never finish because my moods change. So like I shouldn't start making plans before the year is even December, because it's still October right now. It'll be November when you see this. Anyways, I hope you have a great time. I hope your last little time was great. Tell me which books you normally read. Are you a mood reader? Are you a seasonal reader? What is your kind of deal? Happy reading and writing. If you want to follow where I talk about books more commonly, my Twitter and my Instagram are both Kira Scrivener. And have a great day, and I will see you next time. Bye.